In every corner of history, there are voices that rise from silence. Stories of children born into struggle who refuse to be defined by it. From the dusty roads of forgotten towns to the bright lights of the world stage, these journeys remind us that pain does not end a story, it begins one. Here, we explore the lives of those who turned hardship into hope, who transformed silence into a voice that millions could hear. Through history, culture, and the resilience of the human spirit, we uncover not just what they endured, but what they gave to the world. Because every story you will hear here carries a truth, that no beginning is too humble, no dream too distant, and that within every struggle lies the seed of transformation. This is more than history. It is empathy, it is knowledge, it is hope. Welcome to a journey of human resilience. Section 1. Oprah Gail Winfrey. She wasn't born into privilege, she was born into struggle. In the mid-20th century, in a divided America where race and poverty determined one's destiny, a little girl named Oprah Winfrey took her first breath. Her world was not painted in gold, but in hardship, yet within that hardship lay the seeds of resilience. How does a child, born into a fractured family in rural Mississippi, grow into the most influential woman in America? How does one rise from silence and pain to command a global stage with words that heal, empower, and inspire? To understand Oprah's journey, we must first step back into the America of the 1950s and 1960s. It was a nation wrestling with its conscience, torn between the promises of freedom and the reality of segregation. For an African-American girl born in poverty, the odds of escaping hardship were almost non-existent. Yet, against the weight of history, Oprah began her fight. This is not just the story of a media icon. It is the story of human resilience, the power to rise when the world says you cannot, the courage to speak when silence is demanded, and the vision to dream when the future appears impossible. This is the story of Oprah Winfrey. Section 2. Childhood and Struggles. Oprah Winfrey was born in rural Mississippi in 1954 to a young single mother who struggled to provide even the most basic needs. Her father was absent, her family fractured. In those early years, stability was a stranger. The little girl found herself in the care of her grandmother, who raised her with strict discipline and the hope that faith would shield her from the cruelties of life. But poverty has sharp edges. Oprah wore dresses made of potato sacks, and the sting of humiliation cut as deeply as hunger. In the segregated South, where being black and poor meant a double burden, the world seemed determined to remind her of what she lacked. Yet even in that environment, her mind began to reach beyond the walls that confined her. Childhood for Oprah was not free of darkness. At a young age, she endured abuse and trauma experiences that could have broken her spirit. Instead, they planted within her a secret strength, the determination to survive, the resilience to endure. While the world tried to silence her, she quietly gathered her voice. And in the midst of hardship, she discovered her sanctuary, books. Reading became her escape, her teacher, her companion. Every page she turned opened a window to worlds beyond Mississippi, worlds where possibility lived. Through literature, Oprah began to imagine a life larger than the one given to her. Her childhood was marked by pain and loneliness, but also by the quiet fire of resistance. Beneath the surface of suffering, a girl was learning how to endure and how to dream. Section 3. Education and First Successes. In the classroom, Oprah's gift for words began to shine. Her teachers noticed a spark her ability to speak with confidence, to move an audience even as a child. For a girl who had once felt invisible, the classroom became a stage, and her voice became a force. Her confidence carried her into local beauty pageants, where she stood out not only for her appearance, but for her eloquence. Winning these contests gave her more than trophies. It gave her a glimpse of possibility, proof that she could be seen, that her presence mattered. Determined to pursue education, Oprah attended Tennessee State University. There, she balanced her studies with part-time work in radio and television. Her voice, warm and commanding, quickly caught the attention of local broadcasters. At just 19, she became the youngest news anchor in Nashville. Yet the path was not smooth. As a young black woman in a field dominated by white men, Oprah faced constant judgment, too emotional, too different, too much of everything they said she shouldn't be. But every broadcast, every word she spoke, was an act of defiance. She was proving that her voice belonged. Education and early success did more than lift Oprah out of poverty. They gave her a platform, a sense of identity, and the belief that no barrier was too strong to break. The girl who once sought refuge in books was now writing the first lines of her own story. Section 4. The Rise. Television was changing, and so was Oprah. After years of reading headlines behind the anchor desk, she realized that her true gift was not in delivering news, but in connecting with people. When she transitioned from news to a local talk show, something remarkable happened. The camera no longer felt like a barrier. It felt like a bridge. Her empathy, her openness, her ability to listen, these qualities transformed ordinary interviews into moments of revelation. Guests who had never spoken of their pain before found themselves opening up. Viewers at home felt that Oprah was not a distant host, but a trusted friend. In 1986, the Oprah Winfrey Show was born. It began as a modest daytime program, but quickly grew into a cultural phenomenon. Unlike the glossy, scripted television of the time, Oprah's show offered something rare: authenticity. She cried with her guests, she laughed with them, and she made millions feel that their struggles mattered. As the show's reach expanded, so did its impact. Oprah tackled issues often ignored on television: racism, abuse, poverty, mental health. She turned the talk show into more than entertainment. It became a national classroom, a space for healing and a platform for voices long silenced. Oprah's rise was not fueled by glamour, but by authenticity. In a world hungry for connection, she offered trust. In a culture quick to judge, she offered compassion. And in doing so, she redefined what television could be. Section 5. Peak and Transformation. By the 1990s, Oprah was no longer just a talk show host. She was an institution. With Harpo Productions, her own film and television company, she gained creative control in an industry that rarely gave women, especially black women, that kind of power. Soon, her empire expanded into magazines, films, and eventually, her own television network. With this empire came wealth beyond imagination. Oprah became one of the richest women in the world, a billionaire who had risen from the poverty of Mississippi to the summit of global influence. Her story was no longer just about survival, it was about transformation. But for Oprah, success was never measured by money alone. She used her influence to lift others, funding scholarships, supporting schools, and advocating for education, as the key to breaking cycles of poverty. Perhaps her most ambitious project was in South Africa, where she built the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls, offering hope to young women who, like her once, had been told their dreams were out of reach. Leadership for Oprah meant more than building wealth, it meant sharing power. She understood that true influence comes not from what you keep, but from what you give back. In boardrooms and in classrooms, her presence carried the same message: possibility. At the peak of her career, Oprah stood not only as an icon of success, but as a symbol of what leadership could look like when guided by empathy, purpose, and generosity. She had climbed to the top, but she made sure the ladder was still there for others to follow. Section 6. Vulnerable Spirit and Humanity. Even at the height of her fame, Oprah never hid her struggles. She spoke openly about her battles with weight, her search for lasting love, and the loneliness that often followed success. These confessions reminded the world that even icons carry wounds. Unlike many celebrities who built walls around their private lives, Oprah invited the audience into her own. She turned vulnerability into connection, showing that honesty could be as powerful as achievement. This openness made her more than a media figure. It made her relatable, touchable. Viewers saw not only a billionaire and a leader, but also a woman who struggled, who failed, who kept trying. In her imperfections, millions found comfort. Through her willingness to reveal her humanity, Oprah reminded the world that greatness is not about being flawless. It is about being authentic. And in that authenticity, she inspired people not to chase perfection, but to embrace themselves. Section 7. Conclusion. From the dusty roads of Mississippi to the grand stages of the world, Oprah Winfrey's journey is a testament to the power of resilience. She began as a little girl searching for safety and belonging, but she grew into a woman who built her own place in history. Along the way, she shattered barriers of race, gender, and class, and showed us that even the deepest wounds can be transformed into wisdom. Today, Oprah is more than an icon of television. She is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and a voice that continues to inspire across generations. Her book club still moves millions to read. Her OWN network amplifies diverse voices, and her philanthropic efforts, from scholarships to schools, continue to plant seeds of opportunity for those who need it most. And yet, despite her extraordinary influence, Oprah remains deeply human. She continues to share her struggles with health, her reflections on love, and her constant pursuit of balance. This honesty is what makes her not just admired, but loved, because she reminds us that greatness is not about perfection, but about courage, the courage to be authentic in a world that asks us to wear masks. Her story is not just the story of a single woman. It is the story of possibility. It is proof that no matter where you begin, your ending can be rewritten. Oprah shows us that even in the hardest circumstances, education, compassion, and faith in yourself can open doors that once seemed permanently locked. As we close this journey through her life, the lesson is clear. Success is not measured by the titles you earn or the wealth you gather. It is measured by the lives you touch, the hope you give, and the light you leave behind. Oprah's legacy is not her empire. It is the millions of people who now believe that they too can rise above their circumstances. And so, if you take anything from Oprah's journey, let it be this: your past does not define you, your struggles do not confine you, and your dreams are worth fighting for. Like Oprah, you have the power to turn your pain into purpose, and your story, yes, Your story can be the beacon of hope that inspires the next generation. If this story moved you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories like this. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your feelings matter, and your voice deserves to be heard.